Judge, that teenager I paralyzed 8 years ago, she'll be okay eventually, right?
She'll never walk again because of you. You'll never taste freedom again. 18 years.
The courtroom camera captured the exact moment a serial drunk driver realized her 12 years of privilege were about to end in the most humiliating and devastating way possible. Patricia Marlowe, a 52-year-old woman who had driven drunk and destroyed lives 10 separate times over 12 years, sat in Judge Judy's defendant chair wearing a designer suit and an expression of bored entitlement that would soon transform into absolute terror. What Judge Judy was about to reveal in the next 18 minutes would send this woman to prison for 18 years, bankrupt her completely, and turn her into the most hated criminal in America, with over 40 million people watching her destruction unfold across every social media platform imaginable. But here's what makes this story absolutely insane, what elevates it beyond every other drunk driving case ever televised. Judge Judy didn't just sentence this woman to prison. She uncovered evidence so damning, so shocking, that it exposed not only Patricia's sociopathic lack of remorse but also a system of wealth and privilege that had allowed her to keep driving drunk for over a decade while destroying innocent families. The smoking gun Judge Judy discovered, a piece of evidence that Patricia thought was private and safe, would prove beyond any doubt that this woman felt zero guilt for paralyzing a teenager 8 years ago and zero remorse for nearly killing an entire family just months before this trial. That evidence would make Patricia's expensive lawyers powerless, would make her wealthy father's money meaningless, and would ensure that she spent the next 18 years of her life in a concrete cell thinking about every victim she left in her wake. Before we show you the exact moment Judge Judy played that devastating evidence and destroyed Patricia Marlowe's entire life on national television, you need to understand something critical. Tell me right now in the comments where you're watching this from, because this case changed drunk driving laws in 17 states across America. And if you've ever lost someone to a drunk driver, if you've ever been hit by someone driving under the influence, if you've ever wondered why wealthy people seem to get away with crimes that would send regular people to prison, you need to hit that subscribe button immediately. What you're about to witness is the most satisfying 18 minutes of courtroom justice ever recorded. Judge Judy doesn't just expose Patricia's crimes. She systematically destroys every excuse, every lie, and every defense that had worked for this woman 9 previous times. And the moment when Patricia realizes she's not getting away with it this time, when her mask of fake remorse cracks completely and her true nature comes pouring out in front of millions of viewers, that moment will restore your faith that consequences are real and justice eventually finds everyone. Patricia Marlowe had spent 12 years perfecting the art of drunk driving without real consequences. Her first arrest came in 2010 when she was 40 years old, caught with a blood alcohol level of 0.14 after crashing into a mailbox at 2 in the morning. She stood in court wearing expensive clothes, dabbing fake tears from her eyes, and told the judge it was a terrible mistake that would never happen again. Her father paid $15,000 for a lawyer who got the charges reduced to reckless driving. Patricia paid a $1,500 fine, attended a few AA meetings, and 8 months later was arrested again with a blood alcohol level of 0.16. Same performance, same expensive lawyer courtesy of daddy's real estate fortune, same reduced charges. By her 4th DUI in 2013, Patricia had learned that the system wasn't designed to stop her. It was designed to give her endless chances as long as she could afford the lawyers who knew how to manipulate it. But DUI number 5 in 2014 should have been the wake-up call that changed everything. Patricia T-boned a Honda Civic at a busy intersection in the middle of the afternoon, her blood alcohol level at 0.23, so drunk she could barely stand during the sobriety test. The driver of that Honda was Emily Rodriguez, a 19-year-old college student on a full volleyball scholarship, pre-med student with a 3.8 GPA, her entire brilliant future ahead of her. The impact severed Emily's spine at T12. She woke up in a hospital bed 3 days later and learned she would never walk again. Patricia visited Emily's hospital room exactly once, and what she said to that paralyzed teenager would later become evidence of the complete lack of conscience that defined her entire personality. Patricia looked at Emily in that hospital bed and said, "I'm so sorry this happened, but accidents happen. You'll be okay." Then she asked if Emily's family was planning to sue her. Emily lost her scholarship, lost her athletic career, lost her independence, and racked up over $1.2 million in medical bills over the next 8 years. Patricia served 9 months of an 18-month sentence and walked out of jail directly to her parents' guest house where her father had a $2,000 a month allowance waiting for her. 6 months after paralyzing Emily Rodriguez, Patricia Marlowe was arrested for DUI number 6. Between 2016 and 2020, Patricia Marlowe was arrested for drunk driving 4 more times, bringing her total to 9 DUIs across 10 years. Each arrest followed the same pattern: expensive lawyer hired by her wealthy father, charges reduced or dismissed on technicalities, minimal jail time, probation she violated within months, and zero genuine effort to stop drinking. Her blood alcohol levels during these arrests ranged from 0.18 to 0.26, levels that should have rendered her unconscious but instead just made her confident enough to get behind the wheel. Patricia lost her teaching license after DUI number 7. She lost her marriage when her husband finally filed for divorce, unable to watch her destroy herself and endanger their 2 teenage daughters. Those daughters eventually refused all contact with their mother, changing their phone numbers and blocking her on social media after she showed up drunk to the youngest daughter's 16th birthday party. But none of these consequences changed Patricia's behavior because her father's money always cushioned her fall. She lived rent-free in her parents' guest house, received a monthly allowance that funded her country club membership and daily drinking habit, and spent her days moving between expensive restaurants and bars, always just 2 drinks away from getting back in her car. The Torres family never saw Patricia Marlowe coming. Michael Torres was a 41-year-old electrical engineer who had immigrated from El Salvador at age 12 with his single mother who cleaned houses and worked 3 jobs so her son could focus on education. Michael earned a full academic scholarship to State University, graduated in the top 10% of his electrical engineering class, and built a career through pure competence and relentless work ethic. By 33, he had saved enough for a down payment on a modest home in a safe suburb where he lived with his wife Jessica, a human resources coordinator he met at a company picnic, and their 3 children. Sophia was 8 years old, captain of her soccer team and a straight-A student who wanted to be a veterinarian. The 6-year-old twins, Daniel and Marcus, were inseparable best friends who loved building Lego towers and riding their bikes around the neighborhood. The Torres family represented everything beautiful about the American dream: hard work, sacrifice, family values, and the unshakable belief that following the rules and doing right would lead to success and safety. October 15, 2022, was supposed to be a perfect Saturday. Sophia had a soccer game at noon and the whole family was excited to watch her play. Michael loaded everyone into their minivan at 10:45 that morning, Jessica in the passenger seat, all 3 kids properly buckled in the back, Disney songs playing on the radio as they sang along together. They were 3 blocks from the soccer field, stopped at a red light in a school zone, when Michael saw the wrong-way car screaming toward them from the left. He had maybe half a second to register what was happening before Patricia Marlowe's Mercedes SUV, traveling at 65 miles per hour in a 25-mile-per-hour school zone, slammed into the driver's side of their minivan with devastating force. Patricia had left the Riverside Country Club just 6 minutes earlier after consuming 4 drinks in 90 minutes, 2 mimosas at breakfast, a Bloody Mary, and 1 more drink she ordered for the road. Her blood alcohol level at the time of impact was 0.31, nearly 4 times the legal limit, a level so extreme that most people would be unconscious. But Patricia wasn't unconscious. She was conscious enough to see the minivan, conscious enough to realize she was driving the wrong way, and still too drunk to do anything about it before she destroyed 5 innocent lives in a single moment of catastrophic impact. Michael Torres hit his head on the windshield despite the airbag deployment, suffering a traumatic brain injury and skull fracture that would permanently alter his personality and cognitive function. Jessica's pelvis shattered in 4 places, requiring 3 surgeries and leaving her with chronic pain that would never fully heal. 8-year-old Sophia suffered a broken leg and facial scarring from flying glass. 6-year-old Marcus spent 3 weeks in pediatric intensive care with internal bleeding. The family's medical bills would eventually top $487,000. But the financial cost was nothing compared to the life they lost that day, the future that Patricia Marlowe stole from them while she was too drunk to even remember getting in her car. Judge Judy Sheindlin had spent 3 full days preparing for this case, and every instinct developed over 25 years on the bench told her that Patricia Marlowe was about to receive the most thorough destruction of her entire entitled life. Judge Judy had personally called Emily Rodriguez, the teenager Patricia paralyzed 8 years ago, and listened to her story with mounting fury. She had reviewed all 10 DUI police reports, noting the escalating blood alcohol levels and the consistent pattern of wealth buying reduced consequences. She had obtained surveillance footage from the Riverside Country Club showing Patricia consuming 4 drinks that fatal morning, stumbling slightly as she walked to her car, and swerving as she left the parking lot. But the evidence that Judge Judy kept locked in her desk drawer, the recording that would demolish any remaining shred of sympathy for Patricia Marlowe, was a jailhouse phone call that Patricia made to her father 2 hours after her arrest. That recording would prove what Judge Judy already suspected. Patricia felt no remorse for destroying the Torres family, only anger that she had finally been caught in a way that Daddy's money might not be able to fix. The courtroom was packed with spectators who had read the case summary and understood they were about to witness something extraordinary. The Torres family sat in the plaintiff's section, Michael's confusion visible on his face as his brain injury made it difficult to fully process complex situations, Jessica's hand gripping his tightly, her expression a mixture of exhaustion and desperate hope for justice. Patricia entered wearing a designer suit that cost more than the Torres family's monthly rent, her expensive lawyer beside her carrying a briefcase full of medical records and expert testimony about alcoholism as a disease. Patricia's performance had already begun before she even sat down, her expression carefully crafted to convey humble remorse and brave vulnerability, the same mask she had worn 9 times before in 9 different courtrooms. What she didn't know was that Judge Judy had already decided this performance would be her last. Judge Judy's opening words cut through the courtroom like a blade through flesh. Mrs. Marlowe, you are here because the Torres family has sued you for $750,000 in damages resulting from your 10th drunk driving offense. 10 times you chose to get behind the wheel while intoxicated. 9 times you faced minimal consequences. The 10th time you destroyed a family. Explain to me why you believe you deserve anything other than the maximum prison sentence allowed by law. Patricia took a deep breath and delivered the speech her lawyer had coached her to give, her voice cracking with practiced emotion as she talked about her struggle with alcoholism as a disease, her attendance at AA meetings, her commitment to recovery, and her deep sorrow for the tragic accident that hurt the Torres family. She dabbed at her eyes with a tissue even though no actual tears appeared, and she looked toward the Torres family with an expression meant to convey sympathetic understanding of their pain. The performance might have worked on a different judge, but Judge Judy's eyes had already narrowed into the death stare that regular viewers knew meant complete annihilation was incoming. Before we show you exactly how Judge Judy ripped apart Patricia's lies and exposed her true sociopathic nature using evidence that left the entire courtroom gasping in shock, I need you to do something. If you believe drunk drivers who hurt people should face real prison time, smash that like button right now. Seriously, hit it so hard your screen cracks. And drop a comment telling me what you think the punishment should be for someone's 10th DUI. Should it be 18 years? Should it be more? I want to hear from you because what Judge Judy is about to reveal will make your blood boil and then give you the most satisfying justice moment you've ever witnessed. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another case where entitled criminals finally face the consequences they've been avoiding their entire privileged lives. Judge Judy pulled out the first folder and her voice turned to ice. Mrs. Marlowe, you've given a very touching performance about taking responsibility. Let's examine your actual history of responsibility, shall we? DUI number 1, you told the judge it was a mistake that would never happen again. How long until DUI number 2? Patricia's confident expression flickered for just a moment. I'm not sure exactly, Your Honor. Judge Judy's response was immediate and devastating. 8 months. You lasted 8 months before you were arrested again with a blood alcohol level of 0.16. And what did you tell that judge? Patricia stammered out weak excuses, but Judge Judy systematically destroyed each one by reading directly from court transcripts, showing the pattern of empty promises repeated after every single arrest over 12 years. DUI number 3 came 11 months later. DUI number 4, you promised the judge you were getting serious help and attending therapy. That was in 2013. DUI number 5, where you paralyzed Emily Rodriguez, happened just 8 months after that promise. You served 9 months in jail for destroying that girl's life, and 6 months after your release you were arrested for DUI number 6. At what point, Mrs. Marlowe, were you planning to actually stop drinking and driving? Patricia's lawyer attempted to interject with prepared statements about addiction being a chronic relapsing disease, but Judge Judy shut him down instantly. Counselor, alcoholism may be a disease, but getting into a car is a choice. Your client made that choice 10 times. She chose not to call a taxi. She chose not to use any of the dozens of rideshare apps on her phone. She chose not to ask her wealthy father for a driver. She chose her convenience over every single person on the road, and 9 times she got lucky. The 10th time, the Torres family got unlucky. Judge Judy then pulled out Patricia's social media records, and the courtroom screen lit up with a montage of images that destroyed any claim of genuine recovery. 3 weeks before the crash, Patricia holding a wine glass with the caption "Rose all day." 1 week before, Patricia at the country club bar with the caption "Happy hour never ends." 2 days before the crash, champagne brunch photos. The day before she nearly killed the Torres family, a wine bottle selfie with the caption "Tuesday therapy" followed by wine glass emojis. Patricia's face went white as she watched her own social media posts betray every lie she had just told. Your Honor, those were old posts that I had scheduled before I started my recovery program. Judge Judy's response was withering. They're time-stamped, Mrs. Marlowe. Every single one was posted in real time in the weeks leading up to you driving drunk into a family with 3 small children. Don't insult my intelligence or this courtroom with more lies. Then came the surveillance footage from the Riverside Country Club, and Patricia visibly shrank in her chair as the screen showed her timeline that fatal Saturday morning. 9:15 a.m. Patricia arrives and orders a mimosa at breakfast. 9:45, a second mimosa. 10:30, she switches to a Bloody Mary. 10:50, she orders one more for the road, and the bartender hesitates before serving her. 11:03, Patricia stumbles slightly while leaving the club. 11:12, she gets into her Mercedes SUV and swerves while exiting the parking lot. 11:18, she drives the wrong way down a one-way street in a school zone and crashes into the Torres family at 65 miles per hour. Judge Judy's voice rose with controlled fury. 4 drinks in 90 minutes on an empty stomach, then you got in your car and drove into a school zone where you nearly murdered an entire family. You told the police you barely had anything to drink. The surveillance footage proves that was a lie. Your blood alcohol level of .31 proves that was a lie. Everything you've said in this courtroom today has been a lie. But Judge Judy had saved her most devastating piece of evidence for this exact moment. Mrs. Marlowe, let's talk about your real feelings about what you did to the Torres family. After your arrest, you called your father from jail. That call was recorded. Would you like to tell this courtroom what you said, or should I play the recording for everyone to hear? Patricia's eyes went wide with panic. Your Honor, that was taken out of context. I was scared and upset. Judge Judy pressed a button and Patricia's voice filled the courtroom from the jailhouse recording, and what came through the speakers made Jessica Torres gasp and several audience members audibly react in disgust. Patricia's voice was clear and angry. Daddy, you have to get me out of here. This is ridiculous. It was an accident. I barely had anything to drink. That family is fine, they're all alive, they're just trying to get money from us. You need to call Richard and make this go away like last time. This is so unfair. I don't deserve this. These people are ruining my life over nothing. The courtroom erupted. Jessica Torres stood up, tears streaming down her face, her voice breaking as she screamed at Patricia. We're fine? My husband can't remember our children's names. My son was in intensive care for 3 weeks. You had a .31 blood alcohol level. You almost killed my babies and you think we're trying to get money from you? Judge Judy allowed the outburst because it captured the moral clarity of the entire case. Then she turned to Patricia with an expression of pure contempt. Mrs. Marlowe, that recording proves you feel no remorse whatsoever. You're not sorry you hurt them. You're sorry you finally got caught in a way that your father's money can't fix. You called their suffering nothing. You called your 10th DUI unfair. You are exactly the kind of entitled, remorseless criminal that makes my job necessary. Judge Judy stood up from the bench, a rare and terrifying signal that meant she was about to deliver a verdict that would echo far beyond this courtroom. Mrs. Marlowe, I have been a judge for over 25 years. I have seen every type of criminal, every kind of manipulator, every variety of person who thinks the rules don't apply to them. But you represent something uniquely disgusting. You are a serial attempted murderer who finally succeeded in destroying lives, and even now, caught on tape admitting your complete lack of remorse, you still think you're the victim. Patricia's lawyer made one last desperate attempt. Your Honor, My client suffers from alcoholism, which is a recognized medical disease, and she needs treatment, not punishment. Judge Judy's response was absolute and final. Your client has had treatment. She's been through 4 different rehab programs that her father paid for. She's attended AA meetings. She's had therapy. She's had 12 years and 9 arrests to get her disease under control before she hurt someone else. Instead, she kept drinking, kept driving, and kept destroying lives because she knew Daddy's money would bail her out. Well, not anymore. Judge Judy pulled out financial documents and began reading with devastating precision. The Torres family's medical bills total $487,000. Insurance covered $180,000. They owe $307,000 that will follow them for decades. Michael Torres earned $120,000 annually as an electrical engineer. Due to his traumatic brain injury, he's on permanent disability, receiving $38,000 per year. That's a loss of $82,000 every single year for the rest of his life. Jessica Torres lost her job because she needed 4 months to recover from her shattered pelvis and now provides full-time care for Michael. That's another $45,000 in lost annual income. Their children require therapy 3 times per week at $200 per session, not covered by insurance. That's another $31,000 per year. Medication costs for Michael's brain injury, $18,000 annually. The total financial devastation you caused this family exceeds $2 million over their lifetime, and that doesn't include the emotional trauma, the physical pain, or the life they lost. Judge Judy looked directly at Patricia. All of that destruction happened because you couldn't spend $20 on an Uber. How much would a ride home have cost you that morning, Mrs. Marlowe? Patricia whispered, maybe $20 or $25. Judge Judy's voice rose to controlled fury. $20. You destroyed an entire family's life, left 3 children with permanent psychological trauma, and ruined a good man's brain because spending $20 was too inconvenient for you. The ruling came swift and merciless. Judgment for the plaintiffs in the full amount of $750,000. Your insurance has paid their policy limit of $500,000. You personally owe the Torres family $250,000, which will be garnished from any income, assets, or inheritance you receive for the rest of your life. Patricia gasped, but Judge Judy wasn't finished. She picked up the phone on her bench and made a call on speaker that everyone in the courtroom could hear. This is Judge Judy Sheindlin. I'm sending my complete case file on Patricia Marlowe to your office. I have documented evidence of 10 DUIs spanning 12 years, recordings demonstrating zero remorse, surveillance footage, and testimony from multiple victims. I expect maximum charges, and I'm recommending an 18-year sentence under habitual offender statutes. The district attorney's voice came through clearly. Understood, Your Honor. We'll pursue the maximum based on your evidence. Patricia began hyperventilating as the reality crashed down on her. 18 years in prison. She would be 70 years old when released. Her daughters would be in their 30s, likely with families she'd never meet. Her father wouldn't be alive to bail her out anymore. Everything was ending right now on national television. Judge Judy delivered her final statement with cold satisfaction. You came into my courtroom thinking your tears and your lawyer's excuses would work one more time. Instead, you're going to prison for 18 years, and every single day you're locked up I want you to think about Michael Torres, who will never be the man he was, Jessica Torres, who lives in constant pain, and 3 children who wake up screaming from nightmares about your drunk face behind the wheel. You had 9 chances to change. You chose alcohol over human life every single time. Now you'll spend 18 years paying for that choice. The gavel slammed down with finality. Get her out of my courtroom. Patricia was dragged away screaming about how unfair everything was, still refusing to accept responsibility even as bailiffs hauled her toward the prison sentence that would consume the next 2 decades of her life. If you believe Patricia Marlowe got exactly what she deserved for 12 years of drunk driving and destroying innocent families, smash that like button and comment 18 years of justice right now. Share this video with everyone who needs to understand that privilege might delay consequences, but it never prevents them. Subscribe for more cases where entitled criminals finally face the accountability they've been avoiding their whole lives, because next week we're covering the Karen who faked cancer for donations and got exposed in the most humiliating way imaginable. Remember, consequences are always coming. Patricia Marlowe learned that lesson 18 years too late. Within 24 hours of this episode airing, the clip had 40 million views across every platform, and Patricia's face became the symbol of everything wrong with wealth buying freedom from justice. The Torres family received $380,000 from a GoFundMe campaign started by viewers. Michael's employer created a special assistance fund, and new drunk driving laws passed in 17 states because of this case. Patricia sits in prison today, still claiming she's the victim, while the family she destroyed slowly rebuilds their shattered lives. That's what happens when arrogance finally meets real accountability.